There is a profound moment on the spiritual path when the seeker realizes that seeking was never necessary for the presence to work. The I Am does not wait for you to awaken in order to guide your life. It has been guiding you since the moment you first opened your eyes in this world. It guided your first breath, your first step, your first instinct of love. It guided you in childhood through intuition, through wonder, through trust. And even when you forgot, when you grew older and life became heavier, the presence did not abandon you. It waited patiently beneath your thoughts, beneath your fears, beneath your stories, until one quiet moment when you finally slowed down enough to notice something is walking with you. Something is walking ahead of you. This recognition is not the result of effort. It is the result of surrender, a surrender not of giving up, but of giving over. Giving over your insistence that you must figure everything out. Giving over your belief that you must earn love, earn safety, earn peace. Giving over your habit of treating life as a problem to be solved rather than a path to be walked. This surrender is not a collapse. It is a softening, a widening, a deep breath, a willingness to trust what has always been trustworthy. A young mother once shared an experience from a moment of deep exhaustion. Her child had been ill for weeks, and she felt worn from sleepless nights and endless worry. One morning, as she held her child close, feeling overwhelmed and helpless, she closed her eyes and whispered, "I can't do this alone." She expected nothing. She asked for nothing. She simply spoke from her heart. Moments later, an overwhelming peace washed through her body, not solving the problem, not removing the challenge, but shifting her state entirely. She felt carried, supported, surrounded, as if invisible arms were holding her. In that moment, she said she knew without a doubt that something was walking ahead of her, guiding her through this trial. Her child eventually recovered. But she said the true healing was the discovery that she was never meant to carry life alone. Sometimes the guidance of the I Am reveals itself not through external events, but through inner redirection. You may be about to make a decision, and something within you whispers, "Wait." You may feel drawn toward a certain path without knowing why. You may be pushed away from something that seems desirable, only to realize later that it would have harmed you. The present speaks through these inner movements. And as you learn to listen, you begin to notice that the guidance is always loving, always wise, always aligned with the deeper truth of your being. The challenge is that the mind often wants clarity before taking a step, while the presence often provides clarity only after taking the step. The mind wants certainty, guarantees, reassurance. The presence offers trust, intuition, and quiet knowing. The mind says, "Show me the path, and I will walk." The present says, "Walk, and the path will show itself." To live like this, to trust what you cannot see but can deeply feel, is the beginning of spiritual maturity. It is the moment when life becomes less of a struggle and more of a partnership. A partnership between your human experience and your divine essence. A partnership between your steps and the presence that prepares the way. A young artist once described this beautifully. He said that every time he tried to control his creative process, his work felt forced, mechanical, lifeless. But when he let go, when he trusted the inspiration that came to him without reason, his art flowed effortlessly. He realized that creativity was not something he produced, it was something he allowed. He said, "It felt like something was painting through me, not from me." This is the same principle that guides life when the I Am walks ahead. You stop forcing, you begin allowing. Life flows through you as a natural expression, not as a burden to be carried. There is a unique peace that comes from knowing you are not the driver of your life, but the witness of its unfolding. This does not mean you become passive or indifferent. It means you act from a place of alignment rather than fear. You speak from clarity rather than insecurity. You make choices from intuition rather than obligation. And as you live this way, the world around you begins to shift. not because you changed it by force, but because your consciousness changed the way you meet it. When the I Am walks ahead, your life becomes filled with small miracles, not the dramatic kind, but the quiet kind that feel like whispers of grace. A conversation appears exactly when needed. A burden lifts without explanation. A path opens where there seemed to be none. These are not coincidences. They are the natural signs of a life guided by presence. Even the challenges that arise begin to feel different. You may still face hardship, but you no longer interpret it as abandonment. You no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstances. Instead, you begin to sense that every challenge contains a hidden blessing, an unseen movement of growth, a refinement of your being. This does not make the pain disappear, but it changes your relationship to it. You trust that the presence is already ahead of the pain, already shaping the healing, already making the way straight. There was an elderly man who lived through many losses, the passing of his wife, the distance of his children, the loneliness of old age. Yet he radiated peace. People often asked him how he remained so calm and centered. He would simply smile and say, "I do not walk alone. Something goes before me." He described that every time he felt sorrow rise, every time loneliness pressed upon him, he would sit in silence and feel a gentle warmth in his chest, a warmth that reminded him he was never abandoned. He said, "The world may forget me, but the presence never has." This is the quiet dignity of a life lived with awareness of the I Am walking ahead. Trusting the presence does not mean ignoring your responsibilities. It does not mean denying your emotions. It means holding everything, your fears, your hopes, your uncertainties, in the light of a deeper truth. You are not navigating life alone. You never have been. And as this trust grows, you begin to notice something extraordinary. The more you allow the presence to walk ahead, the more your life aligns with peace. Not because peace suddenly appears, but because peace becomes your default state. It rises within you without reason, without effort, without condition. It becomes the quiet foundation beneath every moment, the background harmony that resonates through all experiences. This peace is not of the mind. It is not created through positive thinking or affirmations. It is the peace that arises when you recognize that your true nature is the presence itself. The I Am walking ahead is the same I Am within you. The guide and the guided are one. The path and the presence are inseparable. There is a moment subtle yet life-changing when you begin to realize that the presence you thought was walking ahead of you is actually the essence of your own being, the deeper intelligence that has always known the way. You begin to see that the one who walks, the one who is guided, and the path itself are all expressions of the same I Am. This realization does not come as a dramatic revelation. It appears like dawn, slowly, quietly, irresistibly. It unfolds not through effort, but through grace. Not through study, but through surrender. You may find yourself sitting in silence one day, simply breathing. And suddenly there is a sense that the one who is breathing is not the small self you have always believed yourself to be. There is a larger breath, a larger presence, a larger being that carries your inhale and your exhale effortlessly. You realize you are not producing breath. Breath is happening through you. In the same way, life is happening through you. Guidance is happening through you. Movement is happening through you. And all of it arises from the same source, the I Am. A man once shared a story from a time when his life felt completely out of control. His business was failing, his marriage was collapsing, and he felt as if he were being pulled apart by opposing forces. One night, in a moment of overwhelm, he sat on the floor of his empty office and whispered, "I don't know what to do anymore." He expected panic, despair, fear. Instead, he felt something unexpected, a profound stillness like the whole room exhaled. In that stillness, he felt a presence so gentle, so steady, that he began to cry without knowing why. He described it as feeling held from within. In that moment, he said, he understood. I am not the one keeping my life together. Something deeper is. This was not an escape from responsibility. It was a revelation of his true foundation. Within a year, his life transformed, not because he forced it, but because he stopped resisting the deeper flow already moving him forward. When you begin to sense this deeper life living you, fear begins to lose its grip. Fear thrives on the belief that you are alone, that you must navigate the unknown by yourself, that you must protect yourself from life. But when you realize that the I Am has always walked ahead, always prepared the way, always aligned what needed to be aligned, fear becomes unnecessary. Not because life becomes predictable, but because you recognize that the unknown is not empty, it is full of presence. The unknown is where the I Am does its finest work. There was a time in your life, perhaps many times, when you felt lost, when you could not see the next step, when everything seemed uncertain. Yet somehow you moved through it. Somehow the next step appeared. Somehow you survived, healed, grew. Looking back, you might say, I didn't know how I made it through that. But the truth is that you did not make it through. The presence carried you. When you trust this fully, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop trying to predict the future. You stop trying to control life into a shape that feels safe. You begin to let life unfold as it must. And instead of anxiety, you feel curiosity. Instead of tension, you feel openness. Instead of fear of what comes next, you feel a quiet excitement, because you sense that whatever comes is guided by the I am walking ahead. Sometimes, the presence arranges your life in ways you cannot understand until much later. What looks like delay may be protection. What looks like rejection may be redirection. What looks like loss may be the clearing of space for something far greater. The mind interprets events through the narrow lens of survival. The I Am moves through the vast horizon of divine timing. A spiritual healer once told the story of how a major retreat she planned for years suddenly fell apart at the last minute. She felt devastated and confused. Yet within a week, she received unexpected news. Her father had fallen seriously ill. Had the retreat happened, she would have been thousands of miles away, unable to be with him. She spent the next month caring for him during his final days. She later said, "What felt like the worst timing of my life was actually perfect timing." This is how the presence walks ahead. It knows what is coming even when you do not. There is a rhythm to life, a divine timing, a sacred unfolding, and the more you trust it, the more aligned your life becomes. The I Am goes ahead not to control you, but to harmonize your path with the greater symphony of existence. Every person you meet, every choice you make, every challenge you face fits into this unseen orchestration. As you become more sensitive to this, you begin to feel the presence in the smallest moments, in the softness of the morning light, in the quiet understanding between strangers, in the stillness that rises before important decisions, in the way your heart nudges you away from what is wrong and toward what is right. These are not random sensations. They are the subtle movements of the I Am within you. When you listen closely, you begin to notice that the presence often whispers before it speaks. It guides you before you realize you are being guided. It protects you before you sense danger. It comforts you before the sorrow fully arrives. Like a loving parent walking a few steps ahead, it clears the path not by removing every stone, but by giving you the strength to walk with grace. There was a quiet man who lived in the mountains, known by villagers for his gentle wisdom. People often sought him for advice, yet he rarely gave answers. Instead, he would smile and say, "Listen to what walks ahead of you." One day, a young farmer asked him what that meant. The old man pointed to the path leading down the mountain and said, "When you walk, the path is already there. You are not creating it with each step. You are discovering what already exists." Life is the same. The young farmer later said that this teaching changed his entire relationship with life. He stopped trying to make things happen and instead started paying attention to the path unfolding naturally before him. He became more patient, more observant, more peaceful, because he trusted that the I Am had already walked ahead, shaping the way. When you live with this awareness, you begin to move differently. You speak less from fear and more from truth. You act less from habit and more from intuition. You meet others with compassion because you sense the same presence guiding them. You judge less because you recognize that everyone is on a path prepared uniquely for them. You love more because you see that every heart, no matter how wounded, is held by the same unseen grace. And slowly, gently, a new way of being emerges, a way of being rooted not in effort, but in alignment, not in striving, but in surrender, not in fear, but in trust. You begin to feel that life is not something happening to you, but something unfolding through you, guided by the invisible footsteps of the I Am. If this message awakens something in you, continue the journey. The next part is waiting. Subscribe to stay connected. Leave a comment so your insight can help others, and if you feel called, support with a super thanks. Your presence, your engagement, your support, they help this message reach the world.